I think it was from watching National Geographic specials on television, particularly ones that involved Lewis and Mary Leakey, who were looking for human origins in East Africa back in the day, as they say. But then when I was in college, I went on an archaeological field school. It was on a French and British fur trade post in the Great Lakes. This was really cool because you could combine historic documents with material culture to investigate the past. My wife and I got jobs while we were in graduate school at University of Kentucky. We came here to write the state plan for historic archaeology through UK. And one of the projects I did was archaeology for a AT&T fiber optics line that came through what was Camp Nelson. Jessamine County Physical Court was concerned about the preservation of this site, and they met with the Kentucky Heritage Council and got a grant to do a preservation plan for Camp Nelson. And I was actually hired with a planner to do the historic and archaeological part of that plan. And that was kind of, I guess, the beginning of Camp Nelson Civil War Heritage Park. I got real emotionally interested in its story, particularly the African American story, but also that it was such a complex site. It was basically like a smaller, medium-sized city with residential parts, industrial parts, obviously military parts. So it just was an interesting subject and topic for study. You could go in all kinds of different directions. I got to go to the National Archives for the first of many times, but I discovered the key to the map, the 1866 Miller map, which identified all the buildings on the map. And that kind of got me started, and I went through the quartermaster records, and I would just come back with hundreds and hundreds of pages of photocopy material, including the investigation of the expulsion, which really caught my interest. And these were the wives and children of the United States colored troops that the Army really hadn't foreseen or planned for them to move into camp. The African American story is what makes this site unique, and it makes it so emotional because people are attaining their freedom by coming here and joining the Army. Then the women and children are thrown out of camp, and many of them die. Then they're let back into camp, and then they're emancipated as well by a congressional act a few months later. It's just a powerful story that I guess caught my interest early on, and it's very emotional. It's very exciting, and for me, it was an issue of as well of how can the material culture, the archaeology, add to this story? But most of the documentation is from the Army, is from white people, either the Army or missionaries with the American Missionary Association. And the archaeology, I think, is powerful in that it gives the African American perspective to some degree, which is missing in a lot of the documents. It's probably professionally the main thing I'm known for. I think when you're in a kind of a bit of an esoteric field, there may not be jobs. You may have to create those jobs. And I think that just makes it all the more satisfying. Sometimes you just get a bug, I guess, and you just get excited about it, and there's questions you want to answer, and that kind of drives you to keep going, to answer those questions. I feel humbled to get the award. I actually know Jim Klotter fairly well. When he was there in the history department, I was in Soc Anthro, and so I've always very much respected him. And it's just makes me, feel kind of, I guess maybe proud is the wrong word. I guess maybe it's the right word, but just, it's very fulfilling that you're recognized by your peers and important agencies that, what you've done through your career is important and has made a difference.